All right, so to get started adding Firebase auth to our backend, the first thing that we're going to need to do, and this is something that we've seen before too, by the way, is we're going to need to add credentials to our backend so that it will be able to make admin level changes to our Firebase project. Now, again, admin level changes just refers to the fact that our backend is going to be able to do things like create users. It's going to be able to do things like verify ID tokens. All right, verify tokens. It's going to be able to do things like delete users, etc. Right? So there's a lot of things that this thing is going to be able to do that we definitely don't want the code that's running in our front end to be able to do, since users can edit that code. All right? Never trust the front end. So what we're going to need to do first is inside our Firebase console, which you can find at console.firebase.google.com, we're going to need to go into our project settings and generate a credentials file that we can put into our backend. Now, you may remember that the way we do this is by going to users and permissions, and then going into service accounts. And basically what we're doing is we're generating a service account for our backend. Now, a service account just refers to, just like we were able to log in with our email and password up here, a service account allows our backend to sort of log in to our application and make the same level of changes, well, almost the same level of changes as we can inside this, inside our console. Okay, so we're going to click on this Generate New Private Key button, and that's going to download the credentials key for us. So what I'm going to do is in another window, I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to move it into the backend by saying reveal in Finder for the backend. Okay, I'm pasting it into there now. And I'm just doing this in a separate window to avoid actually showing this to you. And what we're going to do here is we're going to change the name of this thing to credentials.json. That'll just make it a little bit easier to work with than a big, long, random string. So now that we have our credentials.json file, which, by the way, you are going to want to add to your gitignore file so that it doesn't actually get committed to a public Git repo and compromised, let's just add that here. We're going to say credentials.json, and you should see that thing get grayed out now. All right, so that means it won't get committed by accident. And now that we have that, we're going to go into our server file, so server.js, and we're going to set up our server to actually use those credentials. So what this is going to look like, and this is something that we've seen earlier, but I'll go over it again just because it's super important in any application where the backend has admin level privileges to Firebase. We're going to start off here by installing the Firebase admin package into the backend, that is. So we need to make sure we do cd backend, and inside here now we can say npm install Firebase admin, and if we hit enter now, that should install that package. So now up here at the top we can import Firebase admin by saying import all as admin from Firebase admin. And we're going to want to import our credentials as well, which we can do by saying import credentials from credentials.json. So that's going to be one level up. We'll say // credentials.json. And then we initialize admin with those credentials by saying admin.initializeApp. And we say credential and pass those credentials from our JSON file to this by saying admin.credential.cert credentials. All right, and that will basically make it so that Firebase admin has admin level privileges to our project whenever we want to use one of its functions inside our server. Okay? And before we go on, I want to underline the importance of not putting this credentials.json file in the front end. And really, I recommend that you don't even put it in the Notes app directory outside the backend and front end folders, because there's always a chance that the front end could somehow bundle that in when you build it. And that would be a very, very bad thing if someone visiting your site had access to these credentials. They would basically be able to wipe out your entire Firebase project, delete all your users, delete any data you had stored in Firebase, etc. So make sure that this credentials.json thing is kept under lock and key, so to speak, and is safely inside your backend, and that nothing inside the front end is accessing it. Okay? So anyway, that's how we set up our server to use Firebase admin. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.